Hello, this is your friendly neighborhood teacher again, Mr. D, with Math Lesson 2. Today we'll be talking about multiplying and dividing whole numbers and money and fact families, Part 2. All the information in the following slides, numbers 3 through 16, should be copied into your journal so that you have this around to help you with the lesson and for other problems in the future as we review problems frequently. Use your journal to help you as you do the problems in this lesson. Have it out and open and ready to go. Keep your notes neat and tidy so you can use them again in the future because you will most likely need to. Make sure you have a heading that names the topic for this lesson, which is multiplying and dividing whole numbers and money, fact families, part 2. This should be at the top of a new journal page. Do not try to cram this behind lesson 1. Turn to a new page, nice and clean, so that you have these lessons separated. The vocabulary words should be written and separated with letters, like A for the first one, B for the second one, C, so on and so forth. So these are the vocabulary words that we have for this lesson. Again, it's very important that you try to learn what these words mean so that when you see them in lessons, because you will, you have a good idea of what to do with the problem. If you don't know what these words mean, refer back to your journal. That way you have the information necessary to complete the assignments correctly. These words are commutative property of multiplication, dividend, divisor, factors, identity property of multiplication, product, quotient, remainder, and zero property of multiplication. The first one is commutative property of multiplication, which is kind of like addition. If you change the order of factors, which are numbers you multiply, that will not change their product or the multiplication answer. So 3 times 2 is the same as 2 times 3. The answer is 6. Dividend is a number that is divided. 6 divided by 2 equals 3. So 6 is the dividend here since it is being divided. The next word is divisor, and remember, you can pause this video at any time to write down these words. Divisor is the number that is used to divide another number. So in the example 6 divided by 2 equals 3, 2 is the divisor since you're using it to divide 6. Next we have factors. Factors are numbers that are multiplied together. If you have the problem 2 times 3 equals 6, 2 and 3 are the factors, since they are being multiplied together. Next we have the identity property of multiplication. This means the product, or the answer to a multiplication problem, of any number and 1 is equal to that number. So if you have 5 times 1, the answer is 5. If you have 100,000 times 1, the answer is 100,000. And if you have 1,000,000 times 1, the answer is 1,000,000. In other words, any number multiplied by 1 is that number. Product, the answer to a multiplication problem. In the example 2 times 3 equals 6, 6 is the product since that's your answer to that problem. Quotient is the answer to a division problem. In the example 6 divided by 2 equals 3, 3 is the quotient since it's the answer to the division problem. Remainder is the amount left over after division. If a number does not go into another number evenly, you will come out with a remainder. So here's an example. 7 divided by 2 equals 3, remainder 1. Since I divided 7 by 2, 2 goes into 7 3 times, but there's 1 left over. So that is the remainder. 1 is the remainder since it's left over after dividing. And we have the zero property of multiplication. This states that any number multiplied by 0 equals 0. So 5 times 0 equals 0. 100,000 times 0 equals 0. 1,000,000 times 0 equals 0. Any number, it doesn't matter what number you choose, if you multiply it by 0, the answer is always 0. So now into the lesson. Here's the first example. It says to find the cost of 2 dozen pencils at 35 cents each. First, how much is 2 dozen? Well, 1 dozen is 12, so 2 dozen must be 24. Next, do I multiply or divide? Well, normally to find a total amount, you need to multiply. So here we have 35 cents times 24 pencils. 35 times 4 is 140. And 35 times 20 is 700. I add those two numbers together, I get 840 cents, which should be rewritten as $8.40. The next example, we have 400 multiplied by 874. Well, I'm going to multiply 400 by three numbers, 4, 70, and 800. That means I'm going to have 3 lines of numbers to add together when I'm done multiplying. So I'm multiplying 400 by 4. That equals 1600. Next, I need to multiply 400 times 70. That's 28,000. And lastly, I need to multiply 400 by 800. That equals 320,000. Now that I'm done multiplying, I need to add the 3 lines together. I get 349,600, and I just added straight down. So that's my answer, 349,600. Next, I need to divide. In this problem, I'm dividing 3,456 by 7. I'll need to rewrite the problem using a division house. It's not really the name of it, but that's what we call it, so that's what we'll say. So I rewrite it using this division house that contains my numbers. I put what's being divided inside. I put what I'm dividing by, 7, outside. 7 cannot go into 3, so I need to move on to the next number and think, how many times does 7 go into 34? Well, I know that it goes in 4 times. It has to go in without going over. If you have a number, when you multiply together, that's bigger than what you're going into, you can't use it. It's got to be under. It's got to be at least equal or under. So 7 times 4 is 28. I write 28 under the 34 since that's what I'm working with. And now I subtract. 34 minus 28 is 6. I need to bring down my 5. Now that I bring down my 5, I have 65 here. So that's my new problem. I need to figure out how many times does 7 go into 65. Well, I think about it real hard, and I come up with 9. So 7 goes into 65 9 times. I write the 9 over the 5 since that's the last digit I'm going into. 7 times 9 is 63. I write 63 underneath the 65 and subtract. 65 minus 63 is 2. Then I have to bring down my next number, which is the 6. Put it right next to the 2. So now my new problem is, how many times does 7 go into 26? Again, I think real hard, and I come up with 3. 7 times 3 is 21. I write that underneath the 26. Write the 3 over this 6, since that's the last digit I'm working with. 7 times 3 is 21. Subtract, and I get 5. Since we are working with remainders for now, you need to put the remainder here. So, R, remainder, 5. That's what's left over. So my answer is 493, remainder, 5. It's very important you keep your numbers straight as much as you can, nice and even, so that way you know exactly which numbers you're working with in this long division. It's very easy to make a simple mistake, which will throw off your entire answer. Keep things nice and neat. Lastly, in example 4, we have fact families. In this particular example, we want you to rearrange the numbers in the following multiplication problem to make fact families. The problem is 5 times 12 equals 60. Well, since the problem is multiplication, I know to use the inverse of multiplication to complete the fact family, which is division. First, I rearrange the problem into another multiplication problem that equals 60. I remember that using the commutative property of multiplication, I can change the order of factors and still get the same answer. So, I rearrange 5 and 12 into 12 times 5, and that still equals 60. Next, I reverse the problem to make it a division problem. I just work backwards. Start with 60 divided by 5 equals 12. I just wrote the problem backwards and used the inverse operation. The last thing I need to do is rearrange the numbers to make another division problem. So 60 divided by 12 this time instead of 5 equals 5. Remember, there are always 4 equations, which are just math problems that have equal signs in them. For a fact family, you must have 4 different equations for a fact family. Here's your assignment for Math Lesson 2. You need to do lesson practice on page 10, problems A through H. Then you need to do mixed practice, which is on pages 10 and 11. But even only, don't do the odd ones. Even only would be 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, and 30. Make sure your name and date and lesson number are all at the top right corner of your paper. That way you get credit for all the hard work you did today. Thanks for watching. Again, any questions or problems, email me and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Happy mathing!